Hi again, this is Maria with Autistic Sibling Connections. How are you doing today? So, this is part 2 of my series that I am recording on basically my life with my brother with autism and how I'm caring for him, and I'm touching on different subjects. So, on the second episode, I am going to talk about things I wish I knew growing up with an autistic sibling. Wow, that's a big one. Oh, God. Growing up in the 70s, I was born in the 60s. My brother was born in the 70s. We're 10 years apart. Growing up in the 70s, basically was a nightmare for children with autism because it wasn't even diagnosed. They diagnosed their symptoms as mentally disturbed. They said they were retarded. They said they were what was it? It was retardation. It was mentally disturbed. It was hyperactivity. Anything but the word autism. And it was because it wasn't a thing back then. It was not until I believe it was the 90s where autism became more on the forefront because more and more people were diagnosed with autism. So if I were to think about, what would be the one thing, as it says here, what I wish I knew growing up with an autistic sibling, I wish I would have known more information. I wish the doctors would have had the information they have now on autism. I wish they had it back then. Because growing up with an autistic sibling is not for the weak, because it's first of all, you have to deal with your brother or sister with autism, and most of them are nonverbal, hyperactive. They're very they can't talk, so they talk with their hands, and their voices are high because they don't know how to control their voice volume. It's very difficult. Growing up, I didn't even want to go out with my brother because it was always an event. It was always something he would break. We would go to people's houses and he would break things. So I'm saying this to say that I wish there would have been more information growing up, so that way I could have better understood what my brother was going through. Another thing that, I wish I would have known back then was, I wish I would have had the courage to ask questions. I come from a Puerto Rican background. My mom and my father were both, because they're both deceased, from Puerto Rico. And my mother's English was very limited. And I was supposed to be her voice because I was the one that was born and raised here. I wish I would have been more of a voice for my mom and asked questions. I wish I would have asked more questions. I feel that because they saw my mother as this person who came from Puerto Rico, didn't know much English, I felt like back then they did too much experimentation on my brother. I mean, he was always getting CAT scans. He was getting electroshocks. I remember one time he got so much electroshocks that I yelled, "Stop!" Because they just kept, and my brother, his eyes kept going back. It was a horrible scene. So I wish I would have had more of a voice to ask questions. Even though at the time I was probably about 14, maybe anywhere between 12 and 15. And I know they would have probably looked at me like, but I wish because I did have questions. I want to know why my brother's acting this way. I want to know what can we do, to get him normal. And I didn't ask the questions, because then I would have understood is that this was his normal. And autism is something that is not, it's not given with a shot or with a, no, autism is something that happens. So I'm very happy that now there are a lot of tools that we can use. I just wish I had them back then. Because I feel like if I would have had them back then, I would have been better able to care for my brother then. My brother now. Another thing that I'm going to be honest that I wish I would have had is more patience. Especially growing up. And be more open-minded to the fact that I was going to be taking care of my brother. Because now I have acceptance with that. I totally accept it, and I accept it with open arms. But I wish I would have been more open-minded back then, because I feel that if I was more open-minded, I would have been able to get him help a lot sooner. But it's never too late. So that's why I am working. I am his voice. I am his advocate. And I will speak what he cannot speak. I will say what he cannot say. And I will be there with him until my last dying breath. So, this is what I wanted to share with you on this episode. I don't know, I always say it, but I'm sorry if I sound a little off. I'm just not used to. I'm starting to get more comfortable in front of the camera, but there are times when I get, like now, that I'm getting a little scatterbrained and I'm starting to rabble. So, I'm going to stop the video right now. Please continue watching my videos. There are going to be more to come. I am not giving up, because I know that there are siblings out there like myself who love their brother or sister and want to get them the best help possible. Have a wonderful day. Talk to you later. Bye.